I want to share a tip today that is absolutely foundational if what you want is for your body to work better, especially if you're troubleshooting foot pain, knee stuff, low back stuff, pelvic floor stuff. I want you to take a look at this and see whether you are making this very common movement. I'm going to call it a mistake. That's not a great word for any movement pattern. All movement patterns are perfectly okay, but this one tends to be associated with a lot of discomfort. So it is very common for people who have worn shoes and sat in chairs a lot to spend a lot of time standing a bit like this. So I call this hips ahead of heels, hips forward. What this standing position will do is it puts a lot of load on your feet. So I often see it with plantar fasciitis, neuromas, hammer toes, because your feet kind of have to grip the ground when you're standing this way. Not great for your knees. It's a weird load for your knees when your pelvis is forward. Not great for your pelvic floor because your pelvic floor is in a very short, tight position here, and tightness in the pelvic floor often leads to pelvic floor issues. And not great for your lower back because you're kind of arching and compressing your low back here also. So I would encourage you to explore standing hips vertically over heels instead of hips forward over heels. And in this little session, I'm going to show you how to assess it and how to start working on it. Okay, so the assessment's a little bit fiddly, but I wanted to make this video just so that you know exactly how to tell where your standing alignment is. Step one is finding your hip joints. Your hip joints are not where you put your hands when you put your hands on your hips. This is the top of your pelvis. In fact, it's the first step to finding your hip joints. So feel and smush around your pelvic girdle here. These are your big pelvic bones. I want you to travel your hands straight down the side of your body until you kind of find your side butt. Use flat hands for this because that'll help you feel more. And what you're going to start looking for here is your hip joints. And to do that, if you stand with your feet a little wider than shoulder width and start swaying your hips side to side, you're going to find the points that move the most. So when you move left, the point that pokes out the most and gets hard. When you move right, same thing on the right side. When you move to the left on the right side, it'll kind of cave in the most, and vice versa on the same side. So it's just the point with the most movement. This is about where your hip joint is in your body. Once you found that point, I want you to take a plumb line. And what I always like to use is just a piece of cord or string with a keychain attached. That makes a really good, easy plumb line that anyone can make. And what you're going to do is you're going to place your plumb line right on your hip joint. So you have to be careful here because you don't want to, do a weird twist with the way you're holding your line. So you get your line traveling as best as you can right from your hip joint. And what I would love to see is for your keychain to fall directly over the bump on the outside of your ankle bone. Make sure, by the way, that your plumb line's not hitting the ground. There needs to be some space for it to hang. Now, what most people will see, and what I certainly saw when I was first doing this, was that my hips were forward of my heels. You might also notice that it's harder to see your feet if you look straight down when you bring your hips forward, even if you don't have a lot of mass on the front of your body. When you're doing this measurement, make sure that when you're looking to the side of your body, you're not twisting your whole body around. So you need your pelvis to be pointing straight forward, your plumb line to come straight down from your hip joint, and then hopefully you've got a mirror or a video camera to the side of your body so you can see exactly where your plumb line is falling. And if your plumb line is falling ahead of your ankle bone, then you're probably standing hips over heels. And it would be helpful for you to learn how to move your hips back. So I would say I see this in 90% of the people that I see around. It's very common because we all wear shoes and sit in chairs. And I think it's really helpful to start changing. So how do you change it? Step number one is be aware of it. So now you're aware of it. Step number two is just check in with it without your plumb line. So just stand kind of as normally as you can, shake yourself around and then stand. See where you feel the weight in your feet. And often what you're going to notice is it's kind of in the front of your foot. And here again, you can kind of look straight down. Maybe your feet are obscured by the front of your body. Unless you have a lot of mass on the front of your body, you should be able to see most of your foot when you look straight down. So if you feel weight in the front of your foot, can you try moving that weight back a little bit, and maybe a little bit more, and maybe a little bit more until you feel like the weight is coming through your heel bone. If you normally stand forward, that's going to feel weird. So try it a couple times. So take your weight forward, kind of ski jump, feel your toes grip. That's why this is bad for your feet. One reason this is bad for your feet. And then travel your weight backwards so you can kind of feel the weight in your heels. Your heels are big, heavy, hard bones that are really good at supporting the weight of your body. Now travel your weight forward. Feel how now your forefoot is holding you up, and your forefoot is supposed to be very mobile. It's not really a weight-bearing structure. It's a mobile structure. Move your weight back into your heels. Maybe you feel like you're going to fall over. That's very normal. Maybe your toes are lifting up. Also normal. Weight forward and weight back. Now, step one here is to find the place where you can move your weight back a little bit without creating tension, without creating a lot of thigh gripping, without feeling like you're going to fall over. You just want to just kind of coax some hips backwards, but you don't have to force this, right? It's not helpful to pull your hips all the way back and then have to squeeze yourself and hold yourself there. You want to just start moving backwards a little bit at a time. I think that for most people, the best exercises to support this particular change are going to be working on your hamstring strength and length, because your hamstrings are what start to hold you up when you move your hips over your heels, and working on your psoas muscles. So looking to release psoas tension, to let go of hip flexor and psoas tension. I have a couple of videos already on my YouTube that you can go check out for this with some of my favorite exercises to start you off. So it's a combination of things. Number one is start moving your weight back, become aware, think about this all the time. Always think hips over heels. Number two is hamstring length and strength. Number three is psoas, hip flexor, detensing, balancing out. So that's kind of the path forward to permanently changing this. And certainly for me, this was my standing alignment before, and now it's very easy for me and very natural for me to have my weight in my heels. My toes are always liftable. You can always check in with your toes too. They're another great way to check in. Can you feel your weight in your heels or towards your heels? Can you lift your toes? Those are great kind of just awareness reminders that you can be thinking about. So this for me is a very foundational movement pattern, and so I actually teach it in two of my courses, all of my courses, and so I think if you want to kind of get more exercises to help, my Pelvic Floor Plus program would be really helpful, and so is my Take 10 coaching program. So I've got links for all the exercises I mentioned and for the programs in the caption, so make sure you go check that out. And as always, if you want more movement information, make sure to go check out petrafishermovement.com. Okay.